Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, your home for all content Lord of the Rings home. Got an account update video for you today on my main account. Just passed the 300k TCP threshold. So the point of today's video is to basically tell you, what does that look like? What does a 300k account look like? How am I doing in raids? How am I doing in arena? What am I farming? That's basically the gist. Let's get started with raids. We'll take a look at my account after the fact. Let's see. Let's go to chapter 1. Chapter 1 I actually did pretty well, I would say. This is the best I've ever done in chapter 1 here. I got 5.1 mil, so that was 4 900k teams and a 1.5 mil attempt on difficulty 4 with my Rivendell elves. That was, yeah, it's the best I've ever done. Chapters 2 and chapters 3 still kick my ass. And I did not do so well here, only 2.3 mil. Obviously, look, worse than my previous attempt here. I think I can get to 2.5 for sure. Well, I know I can. I think I could probably push it to 2.775. This is something I'm trying to work on, though. The Cave Troll is my weakness. I don't have Haradrim, right? So I don't have a lot of teams that can, like, really do well. I need to just spend more time being a stubborn dwarf and using my dwarf team to get, you know, closer to 700 900k on chapter 2. I get a little frustrated sometimes after hours of attempts, and then I go, okay, that's good, whatever. Chapter 3, 2.7 mil, same thing. I actually just got Fro up, so I'm now able to use a dwarf team to get pretty close to, you know, it should be pretty close to like 600k 700k. I didn't get there that time. This is obviously still an improvement here, as you can see. But I'm hoping to get, again, I just want to get 3 mil on all the chapters. That way I'm getting the maximum amount of Gandalf shards. Chapter 4, how am I doing? So it was like 2.3, 2.7, 5.1. I'm not going to do the math. I'm somewhere around 12 mil. I may be a little bit more. 2.4 for chapter 4. Not as good as I want. I wanted to get this last Gandalf shard, but like, my leftover teams just can't hack it. However, I'm very, very happy with this team right here. Because I got Fro up, I was able to get 900k with my dwarves plus Rumil. You know what's crazy about this team, actually? I think most of the points come from like dispelling buffs, or sorry, banes. Which is like really wild, because you got 3 buff dispels, bane dispels. I'm gonna keep messing it up. With Balin, Rumil, and then Biffer Special 2 also dispels some buffs. And then I didn't actually get this in my run, but Fro has Unbreakable. So if you kind of work the table right, when the Balrog goes into shadow form, you can essentially have them do his big attack, his one-hit attack on Fro. Fro has Unbreakable. Doesn't matter. Fro stays alive. And then do some healing. Pretty interesting. So this is, I mean, my dwarves are upgraded, right? But I was not expecting this. This is the first time I even tried to do this, and I got it right off the bat. So this is a 46k team too. Very, very happy with that. Balin is the GOAT of chapter 4. I think everybody knows that. Everybody saw Teacher's video for sure about using even a low-level Balin. I do this on my free-to-play account. A low-level Balin to like get 900k with your Rivendell, or like double your Rivendell score, basically, right? So now that you see how I'm doing in raids, let's talk about, well, let me just pull it up, huh? Let's talk about what my roster looks like, because we got to talk about Gandalf. So after we finish this raid, I will have an additional 5 stars, or 5 shards, which will put me at 126. We still have not hit box 4. That is something we are actively working on. Glyphs are going to come by the end of the year, so I imagine we will hit box 4 by the end of the year, in which case we will start to get 15 shards, right, per raid attempt. And I think then I will be able to more accurately sort of calculate, like, you know, pinpoint exactly when I will be able to unlock Gandalf. Obviously, I also want him at 7 stars, so that's going to be kind of the next thing to calculate after that. If I were to just take a guess, I would say sometime in February, March, maybe? I don't know. Guess we'll see. How do I just go back here? There we go. Okay, so this is what my roster currently looks like. I essentially have what I consider to be like enough raid teams. And so now I'm just sort of either taking up plug and play characters so that they can work better with some teams for certain chapters. Or the other big thing that I'm currently working on is my Dol Guldur team. I'm kind of going all in on them. I don't know if that's a good bet or not. I do like their playstyle. I think they're fun. And I just wanted another shadow team that was not Haradrim, if that makes sense, right? The question has been, though, like, who do you put in with Black Beast and the Dol Guldur allies? And I still don't think I've quite found like the exact composition. Nuraz has worked in a lot of chapters because he's such a great plug and play character and he's very good in the raids, but he kind of becomes less useful once we get Charu unlocked, right? Because Charu will have a summon and that summon is going to have binding. So Nuraz is going to not be able to summon his troll. And I think that diminishes his value to some degree. So there's no clear-cut answer for me on who should go in there right now. I think I'm just going to have to play around with it a lot more. But I definitely have fun in Chapter 1 and Chapters 3 and 4 with the Dol Guldur squad. I think it'll be better in Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 when Charu is released. But we'll see. So obviously I'm also working on my dwarves. This is probably the next big team that I'm going to like continue maxing out. So I'm kind of simultaneously working on getting up my Dol Guldur squad and then finishing off my dwarves. It's mostly skills. Like gear is not an issue at this point, which is nice for when glyphs come out on my main account, right? But its purple ability mats are a really big issue for me right now, and even XP isn't that much of an issue because I'm not really bringing anybody else up. I'm just kind of, working on the characters that I have up at the moment because I think they have a lot of utility, and I'm not sure what bringing up another character is going to do to help my raid score unless they're a plug and play character, right? So I have Keely and Feely at gear 9. I will probably take Fro to gear 9 soon. Also Gimli at gear 9, just because she's 7 stars. I'm probably going to wait on Ballin and Biffer. When Biffer gets to 7 stars, you can see that, maybe you can see. There you can see now. When Biffer gets to 7 stars, I'll also probably take him to G9. The goal there being that I want my dwarves to be another team that can go into difficulty 4, even before glyphs, right? So that's something I'm working on there. We could just briefly look at Dol Guldur. So G9 Black Beast, G9 Rekka, 6-star Black Beast, 5-star Rekka. Relatively decently skilled. I've been saving purple ability mats for them and basically getting no skill upgrades on everybody else. So I don't have his leadership ability. And then she needs the last 2 upgrades on these 2, but they're pretty much just damage. So I might hold off. I will be holding off definitely until we hear about Charu or unlock Charu, and I'll be dumping ability mats in there. But also, I might wait until they announce the legendary and just hoard until then, if that makes sense. I mean, it should make sense. Just because I want to see what it's going to be. Rivendell Elves are pretty much finished where I want them to be. Ballin's Expedition, as soon as they become farmable, taking them straight to 7 stars, right? I'm not convinced I'm going to do that with Gondor. When Gondor becomes farmable, I will probably get Denethor and Boromir to 5 stars. I already have Faramir at 5 stars, just because I want to cover my bases for legendary unlocks. I'm kind of getting to this point where like a lot of the shard farms I have been doing since essentially the start of the game are kind of finally coming to fruition. So like Dunahar is maxed, Eothane is maxed. Let's think of, where is she? Lomian's maxed, but that doesn't really count. Where's Eowyn? Eowyn I just got maxed. Eowyn, oh, she's not quite maxed. Mauher's maxed, right? And this is all stuff that came online like in the last week or 2. Eowyn almost maxed. Gonna finish out my Isengard, even though I don't think they're as useful in the raids for sure. And then I am regrettably, very regrettably, starting to farm Merry Brandybuck so that I can bring up Pippin and Merry as sort of like a plug and play duo. And I think they will add actually a lot of viability in the raids. Faramir is actually somebody I regret. I don't use him that often. I don't think he has been that good. I know you can use Rangers in Chapter 2, but my Ranger squad also just isn't that good because it needs some skills on Halbarad that I just don't have. So let me sort of lead you what I farm every day in terms of character shards and what I'm thinking about doing going into the future. We'll see if I actually do it. Okay, so I have Arwen. I think the first one here is I've basically started farming the goblins on the hard nodes here. So I'm going to get them all to probably 5 stars is when I might start working on them. I'm not sure. I already basically have 5 raid teams. So I might just still wait, but I want to get goblins up because I think they're a really fun and interesting team to play. Have the dwarves essentially maxed. So the only person I'm farming here is going to be Mary. And what do I have him at? So I can get him to 5 stars. And then what is 130 plus 200 is 330. So I can get him to 6 stars, actually. So I'm actually might bring him and Pippin online in a little bit here. I still want to save and hoard resources. But one thing I've been thinking about doing is just, like, once I can, get all these other characters to 7 stars, is actually just starting to farm characters that I haven't farmed at all to 5 stars, just to completely cover my bases so that I have 5 stars for all the characters currently in the game. Then I only have to worry about new characters coming to the game. And basically my bases are covered for any legendary, right? It would take a lot of work, though, and a lot of gold that I do not have. I guess I could sit there and just calculate it all out. So Awen's actually the only one I'm continuing to farm here because I've maxed out everybody else. On the light campaign side of things, so I'm wondering who I might just do Gondor first as like maybe Gondor. Yeah, I think Gondor first. I know people are worried about, like, oh, Mordor is going to be the unlock for the legendary because they're selling Mordor offers. There's this weird thing where people oscillate between, like, they're going to the legendary unlock is going to be 5 straight marquees that you need to buy, and versus a game that's been in, or a team that's been in the game since the beginning. And people sort of like vacillate between these two. And I don't know. Doesn't seem that way to me. I'm still, I'm sticking with my prediction of Necromancer Legendary Dwarf Unlock. Obviously, don't take that as like financial advice or just any advice. That's just my guess. But I just think that's an interesting phenomena that people see the offers and they go between a completely free-to-play team to a a team that would require like thousands of dollars just to unlock, not even investments. Still getting Ajak up, obviously. Second Goblin Orphers here, getting him up. So my Goblins are okay. Actually, I probably won't do anything with Goblins until the Great Goblin becomes farmable. I don't want to spend gems on him. Dunlending is also an interesting squad. I'm not going to get Frodo. If I don't have to, I'm not going to get him. I'm not going to get... Dunlending is also an interesting squad. Obviously needs to be completed to be viable is what we've kind of found out. Nuraz is a great plug-and-play character. If you have extra energy to farm him, as somebody I recommend farming him. Mauher I have maxed. Yeah, okay, so... Last thing I want to talk about in terms of character shard farming is I actually stopped shard farming Haradrim. And the reason for that is I just don't... Like, I know T-Beb is probably the least important to get to 7 stars out of the Haradrim team, but as I mentioned earlier, essentially the big bottleneck I'm currently facing is purple ability mats. And so I don't feel like I can completely take a team that's so reliant on getting all of their passives to 6 to where they need to be to perform well, even though I know they would be a great raid team, probably better than some of the raid teams I currently have. The same logic sort of applies for R2R. One, I have a deep visceral hatred for R2R, and 2, I just don't have the ability materials to kind of bring everybody up to where they need to be to perform better than one of my current raid teams, right? And they are very good across multiple chapters, so that's kind of the reason I don't have Haradrim and I don't have R2Rs. I just don't have the ability materials to do it. I think eventually I'll probably get them up. Like I said, I'm getting Mary and Pippin up. I think they're a great dynamic duo. I do want to get Haradrim eventually. I just... Not right now. Not right now. That's kind of what I'm doing on the farming front of things. Just kind of hoarding a little bit. I need to hoard gold and ability materials. And I should be okay on gear for Charu because Charu, Rekka, and Black Beast actually had all like sort of different gear requirements. And I just have an excess of the gear that Charu needs. So I'm okay there. Just got to farm shadow crystals basically. How am I doing in arena? I'm using the same arena team I was using at 200k as it turns out. And I'm in the same, basically the same place in Shard 1 that I was in the 200k video. Not much changes. I can push up decently reliably into the champion, what is it called? These ones. I can push up there if I try to. I don't know. I just kind of do my 2 arena battles and get it over with at this point. I actually try harder in arena on my free-to-play account because there's so much more mobility in that account. I get knocked down a lot easier. Plus, that account just got Elrond, and it's all the people around him, that account just got Elrond too. So it's been kind of this weird, oh, we're using Elrond with... I'm using Elrond with Eladin, Elrahir, Ugluk, and Ironhide. I see people using Aemir in there as well. So there's some weird combinations that are definitely more fun mirror matches to play and puzzles to figure out than just what's been happening here in arena. As soon as Rumel comes out, if the arena meta doesn't shake up by then, right, then I will be taking Rumel obviously to 7 stars, and he will probably replace Brute on defense. Because that is currently what is happening at the top of Shard 1 arena meta. I think that's everything I want to cover for now. I really want to position myself well for a second legendary. And then I think when glyphs come out, the goal is just to be able to get glyphs on all of my teams. 1, to boost raid score. That'll be my first priority. And then 2, I will start thinking about how to do glyphs for multi-squad PvP. But I think first and foremost, I will use glyphs to address the current content in the game, right? Try and really push my raid scores, making sure I'm getting all my Gandalf shards. Gotta get all your Gandys so that you grow big and strong. And then look forward to future sort of content, if that makes sense. But yeah, just hit the 300k mark. Just want to give everybody a count update. That's kind of, we can take one last scroll through my roster. This is what it looks like. I have 5 raid teams. They're at level 60, gear 8, some are more. It's really skills. That's the big bottleneck right now for me. But that's it for me. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.